Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate all our great sponsors. Titan MRI, what we've been through the last couple of weeks, it's unbelievable. My MRI got, I told you the story about mailing it to the Dr. Ho. And then having to take another one because it never showed up. Well, both of them showed up back at my house this weekend. So one of them just got stuck in the mailroom. They didn't deliver it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know who's at fault, but at any rate, we'll see what happens when I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And they'll look at that MRI and they'll go, Pat, you have the most remarkable back I've ever seen. We're going to have to take it out. Anyway, let's go to our week that we're going to have coming up. It is Martin Luther King Day, and can't wait to talk to Coach Spurrier about that and about all the coaching situations. He'll be on the second segment. Robbie will be on to start the third segment with Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Next, or on Thursday, Andrea Adelson from ESPN will join us to talk about the ACC and what's going on there. We love talking to her. We're trying to get Eric Red on for the following Thursday. I talked to him the other day, and he seemed like he was interested in doing it. We'll see if we can get that set up. And so we got a lot of stuff going on, is what I'm saying. And we're looking forward to it. I think we may get Brandon Spikes on, too, depending on what happens, but I'll let you know about that in a minute. Let's get right now to our process service of Gainesville starting five. That's where we gotta get started with them. Scott Hart and the great folks at Process Service of Gainesville. We appreciate them so much for everything they do and for being a big sponsor here. The starting five goes like this. We'll start with Gator basketball. Yay! They won an SEC game. Yay! They killed Arkansas. Yay! I didn't have to sweat it out at all. It was played some D. Riley Kugel got 20 points. Just was a really good game for Florida. They played at a different level. But there was also the fact that Arkansas is playing at a level I haven't seen them at in a while. They're not very good. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody about this. Somebody who was at the game. I did not go to the game. I was watching football and basketball. And they were talking about how I said, I know everybody on that team. I look at these are familiar names. I've seen them play. And he goes, yeah, there's just something wrong. For some reason, these guys don't like playing with each other, and I can't figure it out. And I can't either. They're not very good, though. And look, I don't know how good Florida is. Florida played some defense. A lot of it was Arkansas missed some shots. There are teams – basketball has become such an offensive sport now. I think everything is leaning towards offense. Every sport. You look at the NFL, 48 points for the Packers the other night. The other game was in the 30s. You look in what college football has become. You look at the NBA's with these 130 to 120 scores. You look at college basketball. You look at baseball. I mean, it's getting back. The numbers are getting high. It is just, I think people want offense, and the rules change to make offense work. But the thing for Florida that their situation is right now, we talked about this before. Their net ranking is still not good, 49th. Somebody said today, Florida, they're not in the NCAA tournament. I go, who's not in the NCAA tournament? Everybody. Nobody's in. Nobody's clinched. Nobody's won anything. You can come up with a Joe Leonardo mock bracket, and that's fine, and that's good, and everybody likes it and likes reading it. But please don't say they're not in. Right now, they're not in. Nobody's in. Who's in? Well, Kentucky. No, they're not in. They could lose every game, be out. But they're 49th in the net, which is not good. Interestingly, they have the same record as Alabama, and Alabama's 4th in the net. The difference is Florida now has 0 quad 1 wins because the teams that they have beaten can't beat anybody. And they've had some good, tough losses, but they're not really helping them enough. So, again, like I've said, over and over again, and I'll say it again, they have got right now they're 0-4 against quad 1 teams. You're going to have to beat some quad 1 teams. You're not going to get in with no quad 1 wins. So you got to beat somebody. And you got an opportunity Tuesday night to go beat Tennessee. Tennessee's really good. Dalton Connect, I don't know if you've seen him play. He's incredible. I don't know how he ended up where he was and then to get to Tennessee, but he's I think he got 64 points his last 2 games. That's pretty good. So, but that's the kind of, it's going to be hard. You got to find a way to win a game like that. That's how you get into the tournament, okay? It's not very hard to understand. Number 2 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. The women won on Sunday, and I watched that game, every minute of it. And they are the most frustrating team in the world to watch. When they're going good, they're as good as anybody. When they go bad, they're as bad as anybody. And it's all because they play this frenetic pace, and when they get making shots and everything, and they'll take threes with nobody under the basket and everything, and if they make them, you're like, yeah, and you get excited. They were up 18 going to the fourth quarter against Georgia, and it got to be a 5-point game, and there was still a lot of time to go. Luckily, they pulled it out, but it was good that they won. Look, I will say this. Anytime Florida beats Georgia in anything, it's good. Enjoy it, okay? And Georgia's pretty much the same team as Florida is, but Florida's definitely getting better under Kelly Ray Finley. They're getting better, but they still aren't quite there. They're not quite to the level where you feel like this is a team that can make some noise in March. They're not going to win the national championship, obviously. They don't have anywhere near that level of players. But they're not even where you think they'll make some noise in March, but they should get into March. And I think they're good enough to do that, but, there's a long way to go for them. In this game, yesterday, 37 turnovers between the two teams. It was not great basketball, but it was exciting. I was into the game. I couldn't turn it off. They were up 18. I'm like, I should turn this off and watch something else. No, I know how they blow leads. Anyway, they got to get better at finishing, but got to win. Got their first SEC win as well. So both teams at home, Saturday and Sunday, did that. Let's get to number 3, which is on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, which we'll go to the NFL here now for the remainder of this because I wanted to make sure I gave the Gators and the Lady Gators a plug. I didn't want to make them not be the lead. But look, what we are talking about today is what happened in the games in the NFL. And the great thing is we get games today. We got 2 games to watch today. That is great. I love it. Finns losing to the Chiefs. Felt bad for the Finns. Obviously, they could have lost with all their guys healthy, but they certainly couldn't win with none of their guys healthy. All those injuries. Does that make any sense? They just had too many injuries on defense to be able to. They did the best they could. They were pulling guys off the street to play defensive end and rush against Jawan Taylor, who's still trying to set a record for penalties in a season. But I felt bad for the Finns because all those injuries just killed them. They just didn't have any players. And it did. Now, the cold did affect Tua. He did not throw the ball very well. He seemed to struggle with it more than obviously more than Mahomes. Mahomes, I thought, was brilliant in the game and didn't quite get him to the level they wanted to. But it's still, they won easily, and we'll see how they do. Now, I did want to comment on people talking about on Twitter on the fact that the game was streamed and losing their minds, and I can't figure it out. How do I watch it? Look, I don't like that the game was streamed on Peacock. I don't. But you know what? I watched it. I watched every minute of the game. I had to leave my one TV on it, but I could put another game on my second TV. Again, an argument for a second TV. You guys that don't have second TVs are missing out on so much. But I will say this, and I actually wrote this in my back nine, which is not going to come out till tomorrow because of the playoffs and the holiday. But I did have to have my wife come in and figure out how to fix my Peacock. That's what she said. I know. It's too easy. But look, this is the thing that everybody has to understand, especially old people like me. And for some reason, I get it when other people don't get it. I'm not happy with NIL. I'm not happy with transfer portal and everything, but I understand it. And this is, you guys, it was screwed up for him. But when it comes to streaming and watching games on streaming, they're not trying to reach me. They're not. They're not hoping that I have a Peacock account, that my wife is so obsessed with watching all these shows and different movies and stuff. She loves to watch TV. She's a big TV person. But because she does, we have everything. So I have Peacock. Yeah. But that's not the point. The point is they're not trying to reach me. They're trying to reach the young people. They're trying to reach people who watch everything on their phones and tablets and laptops, and they don't watch regular TV. They don't. I know a lot of, and my daughter, my oldest daughter who lives in LA, and her husband don't have any cable. They don't have any direct TV. They just get these download different shows and watch apps. That's what they do. And that's what you have to understand. That's what they're trying to go. This is their future. This is the NFL's future. Me, I'm not the NFL's future. I'm sorry. I hate to say that about myself. Robbie Andrews, Steve Spurrier, all the who are going to be on the show later today. Zach is the future of the NFL. And he, I guarantee you, could watch that game streaming.
I also do not have cable, and I already have Peacock.
There you go. Yeah, see? This is what you have to understand. It's not like the old days when you just go, hey, let me see what channel. We get 3. Let's see which one it's on. Now, this is a new world that we're living in. And so quit complaining. Don't be yelling at the clouds. I mean, it's just crazy. And one thing that was weird about that game is I'm kind of a Chiefs fan. And when I say kind of, when they do that tomahawk chop, I have to turn the sound off. Yeah, obviously. But I like the Chiefs because I like Mahomes and I like Andy Reid. I love that his mustache froze over in the first half. That was hilarious. It was like watching one of those old movies, Christmas movies, where the guy's beard is frozen over. But anyway, but I do like the Dolphins. Like I told you last week, I hate 16 teams. I love 16 teams. So whoever's playing, if they're playing each other, But the point was that I'm glad the Chiefs won that game, and I was rooting for the Dolphins during the game. But now that Hard Knocks thing is great, and I can't wait to watch it. But it's depressing that it ended like that for them. Anyway, so that's it. Chiefs are alive, still there. All right, number 4. So is Jared Goff, and very emotional game for him. I thought it was so cool what Dan Campbell did when he took the second game ball that he gave, and he said, Jared Goff, you're good enough for Detroit. Because, look, this guy was in the Super Bowl, and they got rid of him. And, they traded him for Matthew Stafford, and now they're playing against each other. What an emotional – I don't know how you can even be composed during a game like that. But he was, and it was a great game. Came down to the end. Terrific game. I don't think McVay used his timeouts very well, but that's not my problem. And the other thing about it is Dan Campbell. When the first year he was there, they were the Hard Knocks preseason team, and we're big fans of it. First of all, I love Leaf Schreiber. I love to just hear the voice of God, but they do it really well, as you know. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, this guy's a nut, and he is not going to win. And he's got a staff of nuts, and they're not going to win in the NFL. And that's the way I felt. So I kind of didn't like them. I just said, I kind of like him now. I'm learning to like him, and I think he's the kind of coach that a lot more teams could use. Some teams have coaches that are just too nice sometimes. And I think if you had a coach that read you the riot act when you didn't do good, you wouldn't do it again. That's my thought. But anyway, so good for them. And finally, number 5, how about them Cowboys? Yeah, I loved every second of it. Hate the Cowboys. I kind of like the Packers, but I will tell you who I do love is Jordan Love. Jeez. I mean, early in the season, remember the game where he lined up behind the guard to run a quarterback sneak? And everybody's like, what in the world? Why would you let Aaron Rodgers go? And now you got this guy. He's still playing. And that was a very impressive performance. Sometimes that's the thing you have to do. You don't look at a game or even several games and decide this is what somebody is. Everybody evolves. Sometimes they don't evolve the right way. My friend Dan Quinn, who I feel terrible for, even though I hate the Cowboys, but he went there, so he had to deal with that. Nobody's calling him today. Okay? Everybody thought he was going to get a job. There was even being talked for the Alabama job, or he's going to go to this place, or he's going to go to that place. And everybody's like, yeah, hey, Dan Quinn on line 2, tell him I'm in a meeting, you know. And I hate it for him. He's a good coach, had a bad day, no doubt about it. So now, is McCarthy gone? Is it going to be Belichick to Dallas? Or maybe Jerry Jones that says, maybe I'm not a very good general manager. I want to hire you, Bill, and I want you to do everything. And I'm just going to stay out of it. I'm not even going to do interviews. I'm just going to take my Johnny Walker Black and go over in the corner. Maybe that could happen. Not. That's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. Excuse me. See what happens. This is a great stat. The Packers have won more playoff games at AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys. That is not a good stat to have. And if I was Jerry, this is one of those times when I would say, fire the coach, okay? I'm not a big fire the coach guy. This guy's clearly not getting it done in this system with this team, with this program. It's not happening. Get rid of him. Personally, I would move on from Dak Prescott. How many disappointments can you have in the playoffs before you go, maybe he's just not built that way? He's built he's a great athlete, but maybe he's just not a good clutch act. It's just me. I would do that, but I hope they don't and just keep losing playoff games because I hate the Cowboys. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with more. Appreciate Scott Hart and our process service at Gainesville Starting 5. When we return, Campus USA and Meldon Law will bring you Coach Spurrier and the play of the week. I got those in reverse order. The play of the weekend is Campus USA. Meldon Law will bring you Coach Spurrier, and then we'll have Robbie Andrew on in the third segment. So we got a lot coming for you here on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. This is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Meldon Law also every Monday brings you Coach Spurrier. We love having him on the show. A lot of fun to talk to him. And I've been waiting for a long time to talk to you about all the coaching. We had a news week like we've never seen before last week, all these coaching changes.
Yeah, it is unusual. In 2 days, Nick Saban and Bill Belichick resign or retire. Although Belichick, he wants to coach somewhere else, so that he hasn't retired or he's halfway resigned or whatever. But anyway, both of them had 6 championships. National for Nick Saban and Super Bowl championships for Belichick. So they're the 2 winningest coaches in pro football and college in the last, since Bear Bryant. Didn't Bear Bryant have 6 or 7?
Yep.
Well, actually, Saban's got 7 because he had one at LSU.
That's right, yeah.
So there was a lot of news there and so forth. And then, of course, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was all of a sudden forgotten. He has a national championship at Southern Cal and a Super Bowl win at Seattle. Who's the other guy that has a college and a NFL one? There's one other guy.
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, and there's one other guy. I'm sorry. There's one other guy.
There's 2 other guys,
but nobody knows hardly this one.
Switzer?
It's Barry Switzer, yeah.
Because
he took over.
He came over and took
and Emmett.
Which they said, just don't get in the way.
Just stand over there and let Aikman and Emmett and the defense, But Barry Switzer won one at Oklahoma, and he took over Jimmy Johnson's team when Jimmy and the owner, Jerry, had their arguments. And so anyway, Barry Switzer's got one also.
I don't know if you saw Jimmy Johnson's rant on.
Yeah, I did see that.
Man, that was good, though.
The problem, though, his players didn't hear
it.
He should have gone in the locker room.
He should have done it in there.
But I tell you what, Green Bay was just ready to play.
They were.
A team that's up and ready and let's go. I mean, you could see it from the first 2 possessions almost.
Yeah.
These guys have come to beat Dallas, and Dallas just didn't quite have it, and that's the way it happens, I guess.
Yeah, I want to talk some more NFL, but first I want to get your thoughts on Saban stepping down. And, I mean, that all this NIL, all this transfer portal stuff had to be part of it. He said, it's a little part of it, but at 72, it's harder to put those 14-hour days in, is what he basically said. So I think that, I mean, what it's like when the older you get, the harder. I mean, I'm dealing with it myself right now, believe me.
Well, yeah, he's a guy that it's there all the time. It's not a lot of older coaches are completely delegators, but he likes to know what's going on all the time, especially on the defensive side. And so he keeps up with everything that's going on. And recruiting-wise, I mean, he's the greatest recruiter of all time also.
I think he is,
because in his 17 years there, I think either 12 or 13 of the years, they're number 1 in the nation. And the worst they've ever been is number 3. I think they were number 3 this year.
They haven't had a bad year.
But instead of being able to recruit, hey, we're the best, we can get you ready, we can win championships, send you to the NFL. Now the recruiters are saying, well, what's the pay, Coach? What's the pay? There's other schools that are, outbidding and so forth. So it is a different game than the one he came into. But he's done it long enough, and, he's bought him a big mansion down at Jupiter Island, down there where Tiger Woods and Justin Thomas and a bunch of guys live. So he's got to live in that thing. I mean, he's got a lot of years ahead of him. And then, of course, Paul Bear Bryant, he resigned, retired, and died 26 days later. So he's definitely not going to be one of those guys.
By the way, he died as he was having a physical, he had a heart attack, which
Yeah.
is unbelievable when you think about it. He's getting checked up, and he has a heart attack, and they can't save him. So, again, that was a long time ago. But, yeah. No, I get that totally. You need to be able to enjoy your life later in life. You've done all this stuff. You need to be, while you're physically still able to get around, move around. You don't want to be a guy in a wheelchair going, let's go to Venice. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, well, he's done it long enough.
Yep.
He's done it long enough, and there's other things in life besides staying up there to midnight every night and calling recruits and all that. So he's done it long enough, and he's ready to do some other things in life. But I don't know how much golf he'll play. He loves golf, and
He does.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
So, but I can't see him playing golf 4 or 5 days a week. He wants to have his hand
You think
in it.
that is a plan, and it doesn't work. I've tried that too. It doesn't.
Yeah, you can't play golf every day, but he's got an office there, so he'll be in contact with this, that, and the other, and
So we may have 2 ambassadors in the league now. You and Nick, because that's what he said that he's going to be like an ambassador. Yeah.
some kind of ambassador, consultant, and so forth. So, yeah, it's a pretty good gig if you can get it. I like my gig. In fact, I just came from the office. I was the only one in there. I still got one in the stadium, and all the coaches in the football building. And everybody's off today, Martin Luther King Day, and shout out to Dr. King and what he did for America. A wonderful, wonderful man. And I got a chance to go to the Martin Luther King sort of breakfast in South Carolina all the time. And a lot of the people that were involved in civil rights came over from Atlanta. And so it was a very interesting luncheon we always had there. And I really enjoyed going to that.
I can tell you when we did the midnight or the nighttime tour of Washington, D.C. this summer, the one statue that just blew me away was the Martin Luther King one, and went in the dark because it's just so cool, and it's so it's just you sit there and you stare at it and you feel like at some point he's looking at you. But anyway,
in fact, the candidate for president, Dr. Nikki Haley, was bragging about getting the Confederate flag off the Capitol building, and actually one of my good friends there said I got it off because I went to it was called the Black Caucus, had a meeting at the Convention Center, South Carolina, before I'd ever coached a game in 2005, and invited me to come say a few words. So I came, said a few words, our team, appreciate blah, blah, blah. And I said, if it was up to me, we'd get that dadgum Confederate flag off the Capitol. Man, I got a big round of applause. And I don't know. Somebody said, Steve, you can't talk like that in South Carolina. And I said, I don't care. I must talk like that because it needs to come down. And within about 6 months or so, it did come down. So that was good for the state and good for everybody in Columbia.
well, let me ask you about your relationship with Nick. I know one of your biggest wins was over Nick. What year was?
That was
the years better than
2010.
me,
Yeah, when they were number one.
Yeah. At South Carolina,
Yeah, I only had 4 games against him, but when he was at LSU, he had just come from Michigan State.
Yeah,
He wasn't any big shot coach per se. I think at Michigan State they went maybe 7-4 or 8-3, and got in the Citrus Bowl, and that's where we went.
Yeah.
But he didn't coach it. He left, and they had an interim coach. But I got to know him a little bit. Some of those bowl games. Remember they used to have the East-West game, and the Hula Bowl had one out there. And we coached a team, the South team, I guess, since he was at LSU. And on the way back from Hawaii to L.A., I sort of asked him how he's getting back to Baton Rouge. And he said, I got the school plane coming for me. And he said, you want to ride? And I said, sure. So Jerry and I, we hopped in L.A. on the LSU plane and got to Baton Rouge, and our guys came and met me there. So that was a little easier.
That's a pretty
good
way to go. And did you have any kind of relation? I know that Urban did with Belichick. Did you have any kind of relationship with him?
No, not really. No, we never really coached together, just against each other. Saw each other here, there, and the other. We did play golf at that Peach Bowl Reynolds Plantation,
Yep,
where
yep.
Dan Mullen, I think he still lives up there. They have that little scramble tournament every year. And I think it was 2011 or 12. I played with Sterling Sharp, who was an excellent player.
Yeah, he is a good player.
He was playing with Mark Ingram. Mark's a pretty good player. And the three of our teams got into the finals of the two-man scramble. And anyway, Paul Johnson and John Barry, Rick Barry's son, they end up winning it. Paul Johnson's a good stick, also the former Georgia Tech coach. So anyway, but Sterling and I won it a couple times, so we didn't get shut out.
You were telling me a good story off the air before we get to our Campus USA play of the weekend about Jed Fish, who was, everybody says he was a Gator. Well, he went to the University of Florida. He was a Gator. And he was out there with your staff, but really wasn't doing a whole lot. But it's amazing to think that he started out as a kind of a ball boy and now is the coach at Washington.
Yeah, he wanted to be a head coach. He said, I want to be a football coach and a head coach someday. And he went the right path now. He was in school here. He played a little tennis, I think, in high school. Oh, he never played football in his life. And he ran into Buddy Stevens, and he said, you think, Coach, let me hang around a little bit? And I told him, yeah, he can hang around with Buddy, the running back coach, and he'd come out there and sort of be his ball boy. I guess that was legal. He wasn't coaching anything. So, I mean, we had to follow the rules to the T now. So, but he hung around, and then Coach Hoke went to the Houston Texans and brought Jed with him as, you know, one of those analysts, you know, guys hang around, help out a little bit. And that's how he got into coaching. And he made his acquaintance. You know, he was with Belichick a year. He was with McVay at the Rams a while. He was at UCLA. I mean, he's been a whole bunch of places.
Yeah, I think he was at somewhere else that I saw. I didn't even realize how all these places he's been at. And, of course,
the
had
Arizona
a good season
job came open about 3 years ago. I think he was there 3 years. In fact, he has a losing record there. You know that? He was 1-11 his first year. So, but then he had 10-3 record this year, and then all of a sudden he became a hot candidate.
Yeah.
But he got the Arizona job, had never been a head coach before. A little bit like Shane Beamer got the South Carolina one. So there's ways to work your way up the ladder and establish that resume. And Jed did an excellent job with that.
It is kind of funny because some guys have, because they've done a lot as a player, get a kind of a break, as you in a way did. But some guys, I mean, literally come out of nowhere. I mean, you see guys go, how did he get his start? Well, he just showed up one day and started doing stuff and tried to help people. And there's different, like you said, there are so many different paths you can take to being a good coach. I mean, look at D'Amico Ryan's was a great player at Alabama, and then did a great job as a defensive coordinator, and now he's got one of the best teams in football.
Well, the guys that hang around the San Francisco 49er guys are getting jobs now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hire somebody. They say, well, who's winning all the time? And guy has a good reputation of being a hard worker and doing things the right way, and they're with winning organizations. So that's how you advance.
Yep. I got to ask you about Alabama's hire, Kalen DeBoer. I don't know him at all. I don't think Alabama fans could have told you who the Washington coach was when this season started. But it does seem like a pretty good hire. I mean, all I'm hearing is good things.
I guess so. I really liked the way Washington played all year. In fact, I said that's a good team way back when the season started. And they're well conditioned. They had good offensive schemes and so forth. Obviously, they couldn't match up with Michigan up front. Line of scrimmage game, Michigan controlled them. But, he's a West Coast guy. You know what college he went to?
Sioux Falls,
Sioux Falls College. So, you don't have to go to Alabama to be a head coach there, that's for sure.
No.
But, he's sort of a West Coast guy that worked his way up and bounced around here, there, and the other and made the right moves. So, he got a nice deal there, and then Jed Fish, got his job at Washington. Has Arizona hired anybody yet?
No,
I haven't heard if they have.
That just opened up, so they're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, they'd like to hire somebody quickly now because the recruiting. We
Recruiting?
still got another day in February where they have national signing. Did you know that?
I know, and
Yep.
people
Early.
are jumping in and out of the portal, and now
Oh, yeah.
all these coaches are leaving so they can get in the portal again.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It's not
It-
ideal.
It is not what it used to be, but the crowds are as big as ever.
I
The
know.
money from television is
I
bigger than
know.
ever. So the game is prospering, as they say.
Yes.
And the players are prospering also.
What do you think happens with Harbaugh? Do you think he goes to the NFL? He's already talking to the Chargers, apparently.
Yeah, that is. I think if somebody offers him, he will go. You know, he tried to go last year, but Minnesota didn't offer him. He went and met with them and all
Yeah,
that.
I
Came
know.
back.
Yeah.
But usually when a coach goes and meets with an NFL team and comes back, that school gets mad at him.
Yeah.
I had a few calls one time, and the guy called me up and said, I want to come down and interview you. And I said, well, are you offering me the job? He said, I don't know that yet. And I said, well, I'm not going to interview if I'm not offered a job. If you're offering me a job, I want to talk about it, I'll listen. But I'm not going to interview. That'd be stupid, if a guy doesn't offer you the job. But he wasn't worried about that. Michigan, I guess he could go interview 2 or 3 times, come back.
Come back.
He may do that. Who
Demoralized,
knows?
yeah.
Who knows?
How many NFL teams did you hear from at any point during your career at Florida? Because I know New Orleans, I know
New Orleans,
Tampa Bay.
Actually, Detroit. A guy up there
Detroit.
just called one time.
Obviously
But actually, I
Washington.
did meet with the New Orleans owner.
Yeah.
I did meet with him.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I said, no, I got too good a team. And that was before the 96 season.
Right.
If I'd been dumb enough to leave then, I would have really been stupid. Yeah. But anyway, I'd only been here, 7, 8 years right in there?
6, yeah.
6 or so, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I did want to mention this, Coach. Upstairs here on tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow? Yeah. You're having a unveiling of the new James Bates portrait of J.C. Deacon. So,
Right, we have a room,
up advisors.
advisors, little side room there. It's called the championship room. And every head coach that's won a championship at Florida has a James Bates picture. He does the drawing, you know. And so he's doing one of J.C. Deacon, men's golf coach that won national championship this past year. So we'll be adding J.C. Deacon to our pictures of winners up there in
That'll be cool.
in that room, championship room.
Yeah, I know you'll be here. I know that the athletic director will be here, Scott Strickland and JC, and I may sneak out here because he's one of my favorite guys. He really is. Just a
The
super
way
dude.
we won the golf national championship, did you have a chance to watch it?
Oh, every second of it. Yeah.
I did too. I watched just about the whole thing, and it was dramatic. And our guys hung in there and made the plays, and it was.
Gutsy.
And the teams we beat, FSU and
Georgia Tech.
and Georgia Tech, they played well also. It went right down the wire.
It's too nerve-wracking for me. I don't know. Watching golf like that. All right, we need to get to our Campus USA play of the weekend, and we got a revival in some ways. And here is where it kind of started, right here. Boom, dunk. Riley Kugel against Arkansas. Riley Kugel's body language hasn't been the best in the world, but all of a sudden he just went ballistic and started dunking everything, and he made a bank 3 also in the game, and just like if he can play at that level, 20 points, that's what they think they're supposed to get from him, and they need to get it from him every night.
Yeah, I didn't realize the game before he didn't play all that
Played
much.
three minutes, and I think they just
Kentucky game, was it?
It was Ole Miss.
The Ole Miss
I
game,
think they
okay.
were just tired of his lack of effort.
Is that what he said? I don't know. But anyway, and our women's team won.
They
Played
did.
well.
They did. I watched that game. They're a hard team to watch sometimes because they are wild and crazy, and they go flying up in court, down in court, and when it's going good, it is amazing.
Yes.
But when it goes bad, it goes really bad.
Yeah, Carrera is an excellent
She's
shooter.
good,
She is one of the best shooters in women's basketball, in my opinion. And if she can get like more shots in games, and we don't take as many wild shots, I think our women's team can be very good.
Yeah, they were playing that weird zone yesterday, and they would keep going to her in the middle, and then she could either take the shot and that it's kind of funny because Arkansas played the same kind of zone, and they would throw it into Samuel, and he would take that mid range, and he'd make a lot of them. And I don't know why anybody was playing zone against
I tell you
Florida
what,
this weekend.
there are so many good basketball teams.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like a toss-up every time we play somebody, and they both teams are athletes, are fast and quick. I guess the team that shoots the best and the team that can make their free throws is got a little edge. And that's about it.
One good thing Florida did in that game, they made 15 of 20, and they had been struggling with that.
Yep.
So
you got to make your free throws.
They were way better with it. Well, this guy's always good. You know that. Brought to you by Meldon Law. We appreciate him. And, of course, he's a spokesman for Campus USA. And, of course, they sponsor our play of the weekend. We will say goodbye to him until next Monday, and we appreciate him being by on Martin Luther King's birthday. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great pleasure to bring in our guy on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, Robbie Andrews. How are you, Robbie?
Good, Pat. Good to be on the Love Boat again.
Yeah, it's waiting for you, the love boat. Before we get started on yes, no, where, maybe, Robbie, I wanted to talk about this because I was waiting till later to talk about this. It being Martin Luther King's birthday today. When I moved to St. Augustine at 10 years old, I thought I was just moving to a beach town. I had no idea how much vitriol there was in that town, and you had already been there. You'd grown up there, and it was pretty amazing when I experienced when I got there.
It was, Pat. And I remember one time, I guess it was during that 65 when all the stuff was going on, and Martin Luther King was there a few times, and I think CBS did a documentary on it, and they quoted like the Sheriff L.O. Davis. They're dropping the N-word all over the place. It was an embarrassing thing for St. Augustine. Very embarrassing.
Well, I've told people this story before that my freshman year, we were the last freshman class, you and I were. We did everything together. We were the last freshman class at St. Augustine High. I show up for school the first day. I'm sitting in class, and there's a guy sitting behind me, and he's got these rings on his shirt. And I go, "Are those Olympic rings?" And he goes, No, it's just a shirt my mom bought me. He was black. And didn't think anything about it because I was not raised that way, So I walk out, and there are 6 redneck punks ready to beat my butt. And they are literally surrounding me because I talked to a black guy. And that's where it was there in St. Augustine. I mean, it's sad. You would think that it's such a incredibly lively, great beach town and the Festival of Lights. But back then it was not fun, to be honest with you.
No, Pat, it really wasn't. I mean, it seemed like the white supremacists were in control of everything that went on over there at the time. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and, I didn't realize it as much as a kid, but you look back, it was, the demonstrations were nonviolent, but the white people brought violence to them. So that's what happened.
Well, didn't they throw bleach in the Monson pool or something like that, or acid in the Monson pool?
Well, they put an alligator in there.
I put an alligator. That's right. But I think they put bleach in another pool somewhere.
Yeah, they did too. They did that too.
Yeah, because a black person had swum in it, which made it impossible to.
Yeah, but you couldn't go to the dime store and sit at the counter if you were a black person.
No, God,
it was unbelievable.
Well, we appreciate Martin. That's why we celebrate it. We are working on Martin Luther King's birthday, but we are celebrating him. You can do both. Those two things are not exclusive of each other. All right, Absolutely. So let's get to Yes, Nowhere, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Big Mills Cheesesteak, sponsor of the Bob Dooley, which I will make an announcement right now, Robbie. Saturday.
You doing it?
I decided we are going to have another tournament. So.
Oh, good. You should, Pat.
May 11th is going to be the tournament, and we haven't talked to Keith out of Big Mills, but I'm sure they'll be there. Adams has already said they'll be there. We'll have a good tournament. We may scale it down a little bit, but we'll have another tournament. Robbie will be on the 14th hole with Sangria. Right?
Yeah, that's always fun, Pat. Have a good time. But I'm glad you're doing it. It's a great cause.
Yeah, it was a tough call this year because I'm dealing with some physical problems. They're not major. I mean, I'm okay, but they may have to inject me with stuff and cut me with some stuff and do some other stuff.
That's what happens when you get old, Pat.
That's what she said. We've gotten so into that's what she said lately. I literally nobody can even talk in our house. And if somebody says, "Hey, can you help me with this?" That's what she said. Yeah. Hey,
you've gone too far.
Yeah. Well, so we were trying to start the fire for our party, and we just kept saying, "Well, I don't think we have good wood." That's what she said.
Well, that is a good one.
Let's get to our Yes, Nowhere, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. Go in there, say you listen or watched another Dooley Noted podcast, free fries with your order, and please do that because then they know how many people are paying attention. Now, I know a lot of you live in other states and other countries in some cases, but if you're here, go there, okay? So that's all I'm saying. All right, number one, Robbie, on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. You hate the Cowboys more than you hate the Yankees.
Yeah, Pat, I do. I mean, my hate for Dallas goes way back to in the '60s when I liked Green Bay and they had the playoff game in Dallas and then the Frozen Bowl. I've hated them for a long time. And then Jerry Jones, how can you like a guy like that?
Yeah,
it was sweet watching him get his team get bludgeoned yesterday.
You and I were calling and texting back and forth during the game, and I said I didn't realize you hate because you texted me first and you went, "This is glorious," and I'm like, I didn't realize you hated him as much as I do. But
yeah, I think I said it was effing glorious. Right?
Yes, you did.
But I've hated him for a long time.
My hatred, I think, goes back to them when they beat the Dolphins the year after. Was it the year before the Dolphins went 17-0 or the year after? But ain't one of those years.
I think. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but anyway.
But another one I have, Pat, is they didn't call offensive interference against the Cowboys that time against Minnesota back in Metropolitan Stadium in the '60s in the freezing cold in the playoffs. And so the hate goes way back.
Yeah, well, I mean that was a miracle play, right?
Yeah, and like I told you last night, I hate Texas in general.
Hold on just a second, Robbie. Yeah, it's fine. You started getting scratchy there, so we're plugging and unplugging some things. We'll be done in just a second. Third time is a charm.
For the Gators.
Everything should be smooth.
Okay.
Kind of pick it back up. Do you want to do like a countdown?
No, I don't need a countdown. I'll just pick it right up. Okay.
Whenever.
Okay, Robbie, let's get back to yes, no, where, maybe. Number 2, Riley Kugel is back.
I think he is, Pat. And I think he must have had a great talk with Golden after that game the other night where he didn't do much. And then to come out and play like he did. And the one obvious thing to me, Pat, he's one of the greatest athletes that I've ever seen. I mean, he jumps through the roof. He's just an incredible athlete. And I think he put that on display the other day. And, when he plays like that, they're going to be a much better team. No question.
Yeah, we showed his dunks the other day, today. And again, those got him going. And then he hits a banked in 3. But to me, the biggest difference with him was his body language was so much better. It's been like a clinic in bad body language when I've watched their games. And I talked to some people, and they said, well, maybe tomorrow it'll be the same thing. He'll go right back to that. So we don't know, but I hope he's back. If he's back, they got a chance to be a pretty good team.
Yeah, the one good thing I noticed in the game the other day, he really hustled for a loose ball, helped get a turnover, and Golden came off the bench to pat him on the leg and tell him great job, which I thought was a great moment in the game.
Yeah, he jumped off the bench. I mean, he literally was on the floor as soon as he heard that whistle to tell him congratulations, and I thought that said a lot about what he's trying to get out of him. Finally, number 3 on yes, no, where, maybe, Robbie, Buffalo should be forced to build a dome.
No way. I think I like the fact that I love cold weather games, and I love snow games. I think I'm looking forward to watching the game today.
I love
snow games. Buffalo, you cannot put a roof on a stadium in Buffalo. No way.
A lot of people would disagree with you, but I'm not one of them.
But there's so few cold weather games anymore because everything is indoors. So
I know. I like
keep Buffalo and Green Bay out. Keep the domes off.
I remember, Robbie, you and I and Gordon and Teresa and Karen and Snoopy and Tim all went out on New Year's Eve night. I think it was the year Florida lost to Miami. And we went out on New Year's to the Commander's Palace, I think it was. And that Mississippi State snow game was on in the Independence Bowl. And we were like, we just want to watch this. We don't want to eat. We don't care about anybody. And our wives did not appreciate that. But we were just like, we want to just watch the game, the snow coming down. That's all we wanted to watch.
Yeah, the more it snowed, the more fun we had watching it. It was great.
And that's the thing. We love snow games because we don't have to be in them.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't believe. Let me tell you what. If ever I needed to make sure that Karen never wanted to move north, watching those games, that was it. She's done. She is Gainesville or lower the rest of her life. Gainesville or more south the rest of her life.
No snow for Karen.
Yep. All right, Robbie.
No
we
snow
appreciate.
for you.
Yeah. She gets snowing from me, but not snow. Yeah.
Okay, Pat. I'll see you soon.
All right, we now we'll move on to our Adams Ripco to Go Gator of the Weekend. We had a lot of candidates because a lot was going on around here. In fact, a shout out to all the people that work over there at the O-Dome. You went from gymnastics on Friday to men's basketball Saturday to women's basketball Sunday, and people I don't think realize how hard that is to do that. And then Florida will do that multiple weekends, and they'll have basketball, women's basketball, baseball, and softball, and some cross-country meet or something. There's always something going on this campus, but I give them a lot of credit. Our Adams Ripco to Go Gator of the Weekend, you heard Coach Spurrier mention her, Leilani Correa, who was on Fuego. That's not on Fuego. It's en Fuego or on fire. But she was on Fuego, I can tell you that. She had 30 points in that win over Georgia that I talked about. Correa's a really good player, great shooter. Love to watch her play. Like I said, they've got a lot better players now than they've had in the past, but they're not quite there, you know. They just need a couple more bigs, kind of the way Todd Golden did. Maybe you can lend them, like Thomas Hawk. He go over there, 6'8". He could. I don't think you're allowed to do that. But anyway, the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend is Leilani Correa. So I'm sure that when she came to Florida, she was going, if I can just be the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend, it'll make my career. She may be the SEC player of the week too, in fact. All right, let's get to our Leonardo's last chance, which is today. If you qualify, you go into the thing, what do you call it, drum, and we stir it all up, and you get a chance to win. Thursday, we will draw a winner. Andy McIntosh, yours is in the mail, okay? That's been done. Appreciate you being patient with me. But he is getting $25 at Leonardo's and a Bob Dooley Invitational hat. And there'll be another Bob Dooley Invitational hat coming out. So here's the game I'm giving you. Last chance to qualify, and then we'll pick a winner Thursday. FSU is at Miami in basketball. Men's basketball, okay? FSU is a 14.5-point underdog because FSU stinks again this year. I don't know how Leonard Hamilton lost it. He is 100 years old and everything, but I don't know how it's just gone away from him. But it has, and they just can't seem to do anything. Miami's very good, but 14.5 is a lot of points. So you make the call. It's your last chance to qualify, and then we'll pull a winner who will win $25 at Leonardo's and a choice of either my book signed by me or not signed by me, or a Bob Dooley Invitational hat. You get to pick because we're running low on both of them, but we're getting there. All right, that is our Leonardo's last chance for the quick pick contest, and we appreciate Leonardo's as always. Let us get to our Hesser and Kipke three things, and of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener to the show, you know who they are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, hear what the clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Number one on the Hesser and Kipke, it continues this run of get in the portal, make sure your Florida's on your schedule. I don't know why everybody wants to play against Florida. The latest, Isaiah Bond, who I was a little bit surprised when he's the star of this team with that catch he made against Auburn, this Alabama team. But Saban left. He said, I'm out too. If Saban was going to get me in the NFL. So he left, goes into the portal, and I'm like, well, okay. Well, hopefully he doesn't go to Georgia. No, he went to Texas. Who is on Florida's schedule, of course? I'm going to do I do these lists, 12 things, and I'm going to do the 12 former Gators who are going to play against the Gators. I don't think it'll be hard to do. I mean, they're everywhere, and they're all playing, Etienne, Manula Malin, whatever that name is, Princely. There are so many guys who are on rosters that played at Florida, and they're on their schedule this year. I'm not even counting guys who played at Florida, but like KJ Jefferson's at UCF now. So they're going to play against him, and maybe that'll be the 12 guys you didn't think Florida would be playing against, but they are. Maybe that'll be it. Anyway, it is what it is. Everyone wants to play Florida. Number two, we talked a little bit about Jed Fish going to Washington. Now the Arizona job is open. I thought Coach Spurrier's story about Jed Fish is tremendous. But he got 7 years at $7.75 million a year. That seems like a lot. But then again, so does what Billy Napier's getting. And this goes back to the same exact thing we've always talked about. Schools are making the decision. Jimmy Sexton is puppeteering these guys, you know. Then, hey, let's do this. How about, he's going to go take the Alabama job. Oh, you're going to give him an extension? Well, he won't go. Alabama never talked to him. That happens all the time. Sarkisian got an extension. Who's the other coach got an extension? I'm going blank. Norvell. Everybody thought Norvell was going to be a candidate. Now got him an extension. So we got those two guys extensions and got DeBoer the job. He represents everybody in the world, and it's the way it is. But look, there is an answer to this. I'm not sure that it's legal though, but it would be, to me, put a cap on coaches. It's ridiculous how much money they're getting. Okay, but if the NCAA or Congress or somebody doesn't put a cap on them, it's only going to go up. The day Steve Spurrier signed a contract for $1 million, it was the biggest story in college football and maybe in the country. It seems like 100 years ago. Now guys are getting $1 million for being like special teams coaches. Anyway, it is what it is. Finally, number 3, Jared Mayo is now the new coach of New England Patriots. Don't be surprised, peeps, if Brandon Spikes joins him up there. Brandon Spikes and Jared Mayo are very close friends, and Spikes wants to be a coach. He wants to be he wants to do something. He wants to get in the profession. Now, he is here in school as a graduate, not a graduate assistant. He's a just volunteer assistant. Just a hype guy mainly. He wants to coach, though. He wants to be in it, but he's still got to graduate from Florida. He's still spring. He'll be done. Has 4 classes. He'll be done, and then he'll be able to. You can't coach in college, as we were talking about with Coach, if you don't have your degree. So he's got to get his degree. We'll see what happens, whether he stays around here or whether – I think he's going to stay and get his degree. I think he really wants to do that, and he wants to be a college coach, I think. But this NFL's comes calling. Sometimes you have no choice. So keep an eye out for that. If it happens, we'll get him on the show, I promise. All right. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things for the day. Let's get to our Swamp Restaurant Games of the Week. We love the Swamp Restaurant. One of our favorite places to go. We were just there the other night watching a game of the night. Was it a good game to watch? Didn't go the way we wanted, though. All right. Today, now it's Monday. What time do you think we're going to get the podcast up tonight? This evening?
Probably about
4. By then, you probably, not too many people are going to jump on it right away because you're going to be watching the game. So, but I'm still going to give you the games that are being played today. And that is 4:30, Steelers-Bills, the game that has moved. All you people that are saying, oh, just play the damn game. What's wrong with you? You're idiots. And the guy who had no shirt on in Kansas City is an idiot. And Tyreek Hill, wearing no sleeves, is an idiot. And one day he's going to have some kind of a lesion on his arm. He's going to find out. It's too much testosterone going around for that kind of stuff. I have to say. But anyway, that game is now at 4:30 on CBS. If you are listening to this live and you go, hey, let's put it on while I listen to the Dooley podcast. And then the Eagles-Bucks tonight is at 8 on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN9, ESPN Ocho. I think there's a special broadcast on ESPN News of Eli and Peyton Manning's kids are doing one.
Wow.
And then there's a slime one, too, somewhere, I'm sure. But I don't know, it's crazy. But it is what it is. It's like I said. But I did want to give you, just so you can mentally prepare, the games that we do know, because obviously we don't know a lot of games. We do know Green Bay and San Francisco is going to be the 8:15 Saturday night game on Fox. And then Houston will play Saturday on ESPN at 4:30, but they obviously don't know who they're playing. So they got to wait and see who they're playing, where they're playing, all that kind of stuff. So we'll give you all that stuff on Thursday's show. We'll obviously know way more about it. Florida, Tennessee basketball, 7:00 ESPN. A lot of you will be at the Swamp to watch that game. I know that. I've been there when people get nuts. baseball was just incredible. So that game is 7 o'clock on Tuesday against Tennessee. And then I did want to throw this out there. Friday, gymnastics is at Auburn. That's at 6 o'clock on the SEC network. We'll remind you of that again on Thursday, but just so you know, because this is the time of year we start watching gymnastics too. Like, we don't have enough to watch already, but we're going to watch that. All right, so those are our Swamp games of the weekend, or the week, I'm sorry. And you can go to the Swamp restaurant, tell them Pat Dooley sent you, and they will double your bill. No, they won't do that. Great food, great drinks, great sangria, great specials there. Swamp Restaurant, we love them there. Let us get to our final thing of the day, and that is Pat Dooley's Storytime, brought to you by the great folks from Eastlake Pediatrics. Mike Jordan, we appreciate him for being a sponsor. And again, like I said, he's due February. We'll keep coming. But if somebody else wants to be a sponsor of my story, I got more stories left. I'm not out of stories, believe me. If you want to be a sponsor of Pat Dooley Storytime, we'd love to have you. You could pick it up in March, and I could just tell you nothing but NCAA tournament stories, and I got 1 million of those. Some of them are embarrassing, but they're still good. All right, so this story is going to be something I was reminded of when I talked about James Ray and his passing the other day. I'm covering JU. I've got a cast on my foot. I'd broken my ankle playing basketball. I know, it's hard to believe I got that high up in the air. In fact, I got so high up in the air, I wasn't comfortable with where I was. It was just a jump shot. And I was on fire, though. I'd made like 3 in a row. And I got way up, took another jumper, looked, see it go in, landed on the corner of my ankle. Really bad. It was bad. So I had to wear a cast. Well, so we go to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and we didn't know it was going to be so cold and so icy. It turns out my cast, the entire bottom of it rotted out because I was walking in snow. I ended up sawing it off. I know. It's a miracle that I can still walk. But during that trip, I'll never forget this, all those JU players didn't have gloves. They lived in Florida. They didn't need gloves. I don't own a pair of gloves. But they needed gloves where we were. And it was snowing and it was bad. So they came up with a great plan. And one of them would go up to the owner of the place, mom and pop place too, and start talking to them and asking them if they wanted autographs or anything. Or, we play for Jacksonville. Well, we're good. We don't. And they would talk to him. Meanwhile, distract him enough so somebody go steal gloves and walk out. And then another guy come up, and that guy would go and steal the gloves and walk out. They did. I think they got about 7 pairs of gloves that day. So that was that JU team. It was not exactly the most moral team I could tell you stories that would curl your hair, okay? Believe me about that team. They were good, though. They were a very good team. Ron Anthony played for them. How he got into school is a miracle. They had the aptly named Flanoil Crook, who was a part of that deal where they stole all the gloves and also ended up shooting a teammate in the butt. Donnie Tyler got shot in the butt. And every time you go through a metal detector, you have to explain that he had a bullet in his ass. So that team was interesting to cover. That's all I'll say about that. But anyway, that was my Pat Dooley story time for today. I appreciate all of our sponsors. I especially appreciate all of our listeners and all of you who watch this podcast. And stay with me, man. I got some surgeries coming up. I think everything's going to work out, and we're going to be able to keep doing these podcasts. They're physical. It's hip. It's, knee. It's don't worry about me. I'm fine. But who's not fine? Zach, because he wants me to shut up and say I'm deep way backing out of here, which I'm getting ready to do, Zach, because Zach does such a great job producing the show. We'll be back with another one on Thursday. Andrea Adelson will join us. Until then, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.